All right, everybody. I had an intro planned here for this live stream, but PJ's out sick. Clay is at a family event. Lewis is running late. Cristian, I don't know where he is. I have Bruce with me on here, and trying to finish my homework. One sec. Okay, Cristian's trying to finish his homework. So college student / racing driver. So that's why he's not here yet. But welcome to the live stream with the MINI JCW team, or in this case with one of the drivers of the MINI JCW team right now. We do have a lot to talk about because a lot went on at race 1 and race 2 at Road America between transmissions, brakes, electronics. There was a lot of things that were going on with the team's cars. I watched Cristian's car have its transmission dropped out for, I think, the 6th time now this year for an issue there. They also replaced something in the transmission, I think, at the shop before they brought it to the track. So they've been having a few little teething issues with the 37 car. So tends to happen with a new TC car. I think these are all issues that happened with the original TC car, the Clay's TC car, not the one that cartwheeled in at VIR. Anyway, we had 4 trophies for the race weekend. We had a 2nd place in TC with Cristian on race 1. We had a 3rd place for PJ in TCA for race 1. During race 2, PJ had to drop out of the race due to braking issues. Bad enough that he had to veer into one of the corners to avoid having an accident. Cristian ended up getting into 3rd place for race 2, and Clay, of course, got 1st place for race 2. And in fact, Bruce made it into the top 5 for the TCA class, so that was a fantastic thing as well. And we got Lewis on board here, so we got Lewis, we got Bruce, and we're waiting for Cristian to finish his homework.
Oh yeah, he's going to college now. So how's it going, Bruce?
Hey, pretty well. Good to see you.
Yep. So college student / racing driver. That's a new one.
Yeah. I mean, you can have a degree and be a racing car driver, right, Bruce?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there you go. You can have a degree, actually 3 degrees, and also be retired.
There you go.
Or you could be like me, a master's degree, and I am a camera operator.
Hey, whatever works, right?
Camera operator / YouTuber. So I guess that works for me.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, PJ is out sick, so we wish him well. He said he would have tried to come on, but he would have been blowing his nose every 2 seconds, and he didn't think that would have been a good picture.
Right. No, agreed.
For all of us.
Hopefully it gets better.
Yeah. Clay's at a family function, so leave it to them to schedule a family function. I'm just kidding. That's not a big deal. Family functions are important. So, but Clay did a fantastic job for Road America. 1st place finish in race 2, and it was from flag to flag. He was in the lead for that entire race.
Yeah,
that was just fantastic.
He did a great job. I mean, I think the only way to win that race for us, you had to be completely flawless for the full 40 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Only way to win that race. And Clay did that. It was a mistake free. It's really easy to go wide or break deep or break too early or miss the corners, but for 40 minutes he was on point everywhere. So he deserved to win the race. He did a great job through traffic and was able, the Hyundai is super fast in the straightaways, had a ton of power and top speed, but Clay was faster. Around the corner speed, and which helped him on his exits to actually kind of get a gap on the Hyundai before coming to the long straightaways, and did that lap after lap. So the Hyundai couldn't get him at the end of the straightaway. So he drove a flawless race.
He did a great job. That car just did exactly what it was supposed to do for that race.
Yeah, I mean the minis, is consistent lap after lap. It doesn't really fall off. I think most people in racing are surprised that the car is, so good with the short wheels base. But I think what most people miss is that it's a front wheel drive car, and it doesn't matter your wheelbase. The front tires do all the work,
Mm-hmm.
and the back tires are just along for the ride. So I hear this all the time, how even the announcers and stuff like that sometimes are surprised how good the minis are, and I'm like, well, you obviously don't understand. It's interesting, right? Because a lot of people say, a lot of drivers like, oh, I don't want to drive a front wheel drive car. That's not a real race car. And then they're amazed that they're so good in high speed corners or whatever. And what everybody misses is that it's a front wheel drive car. Like the entire car works off the front end, and it doesn't matter if it's long or short. Most front wheel drive cars push all over the place. So, Rob and the team has done a great job through the last 9 years that we run the car to develop it and know what we need to do with the cambers and the setup. And, and also the minis have proper dampers, real race dampers, a proper diff that has been developed through the years. So it's just a great car all the way around. And then when you got guys that come in that drive, there's no reason why they should be running up front. And, we did it back when we ran endurance. I mean, our last year in endurance, we won the manufacturers championship, and we beat BMW, Porsche, Audi. I mean, all the high-end brands that are all rear-wheel drive that everybody wants to drive. But here comes the Mini, the front wheel drive that nobody wants to drive, the brick, and really showed them how it's done, right? So, and
I have enough scratches in my windshield to know that it's a brick.
Yeah. So, at the end of the day, we have a great car. The platform's amazing. It's a proper developed race car, and the beautiful thing about racing in a professional series, it does have a balance of performance. So, the lower, cheaper race cars are, at the end of the day, it's all balanced. I don't want to call them cheap cars, but just, it doesn't matter how good the quality is or reliability. At the end of the day, they're all balanced. So for everybody to have a proper, have an opportunity to win a race. So, but at the end of the day, we have more adjustability, and like the Mini handles really good, and anybody that gets in it can run well.
Yeah, I might add to that. When I watched the reruns of the race, I'd often hear the announcers say, "Oh, that the Mini has this great straightaway speed and power up the hill." But actually, it all starts with handling, and the fact that whether we were TCA or TC, we were getting good runs out of the corner. Tremendous braking into the corner, which means we can get the car turned and then shoot out of the corner. So what people are seeing halfway down the long straightaways, it looks like the Mini is powering through it, but it's really the momentum that's coming from that good handling out of the corner and getting fast out versus the competition.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right, and that's kind of where, for Clay, he had a perfect race. He was really good corner speed. He didn't overcharge the entry, so he got a good corner speed, and then his exits were, a couple of miles per hour faster than the competition. So, even though the competition has more power down the straightaway, Clay was able to get a good run, or through before the long straightaways, through all these corners, he would get a little gap, and then on the long straightaways, plus the gap and a good exit, it made it impossible for the car that had more power, more straight line speed to actually complete a pass at the end of the straightaway. So yeah, I mean, it was a good weekend for everybody. Bruce is the second time in the Mini. He joined us at Indy last year, and he'll be back in Indy again. And he decided to come and do Road America, which is a good track for us. And every lap Bruce improved, and at the second race he was in a fierce battle with two other the Hondas there all race long. So that was kind of really fun to watch him, and just get faster and faster. At the end of the day, you also need to be in the car, in any car, right? You need to have laps and get used to the car. So Bruce's experience has been one weekend prior to this weekend, and we had a lot of fun at Indy together, when we ran together back there. And this weekend, obviously he was on his own.
Yeah. But I had the best seat in the house. I'll tell you, the last 15 minutes of race 2, it wasn't all on camera, but it was a constant battle with those
two guys right there.
Two guys, Broll and Iglesias. And I was fortunate to set up Broll at the end. I knew where his strengths and weaknesses were and got him at the end.
Yep, and then the Skip Barber driver seemed like he over.
Those guys would run fast, but then they'd make a mistake in a corner. So the trick is to be consistent lap after lap.
Yeah, and that's exactly it for all the classes, right? Like, it seems, I mean, if we were in a race of who can outbrake who, the Mini still has the better brakes and probably can outbrake any in both classes, but the guys just know that, it's, slow in, fast out, right? So you have to, and then the car has such good apex corner speed that, if you just come in at a nice, easy entering and maintain speed, then you're going to exit really fast. And and the speed goes like that, right? So if you're already 2 or 3 miles per hour faster apex exit, that speed carries parallel all the way up to your top speed. So you're always going to be 2 or 3 miles per hour faster along the straightaway than your competition. If so, yeah, that's everybody did a great job. Clay deserved to win that race. He drove flawlessly, and honestly, if we want to win more races in the TC class, be interesting. The BOP's out already for Sebring, and they gave power to the Hyundai, and I kind of knew that was going to happen. As soon as we beat it, they were going to help it again. And unfortunately for us, that was the first time we legitimately beat it. It's the first real win. But
I think in this instance, it was actually the car was finally dialed in enough that it was actually competing with its TC counterparts rather than trying to get up there and compete with TCX cars.
Yeah, I mean, I think the car, if we're talking about the Hyundai, it's obvious, and all the data shows that it's still, even at Road America, has more top speed. It's much faster in the straightaway. You can see watching, you can see my dog here joining us. You can see that, from the in-car cameras that it struggled in corner speeds, and it was, anyway, so its advantage is all in the speed, really. Ricca was charging the braking zones really hard to try to make up speed, and then he was exiting super slow out of it. And but it is what it is. It's the same thing. We dominated Road America last year, and we got turned down for Sebring. So if we want to win in TC the next race or the next two weekends, these guys are going to have to drive. Clay and Cristian are going to have to be. I don't know how you can drive better than perfect, but that's what they're going to have to do to have a chance. Other than that, we'll be racing for second place, as it has been all season long.
So race one, I know that it was a kind of neck and neck, back and forth between Rikke and Cristian. I'm not sure. It looked like something happened. He was having some issues with the car, because he was coming up the hill to the finish line, and then suddenly Ricke's just like blistering right by him.
Yeah, I mean it's the so Cristian in the last lap exchanged the lead with Rikke a couple of times. Cristian was, again, was much faster corner speed, and Cristian in the last couple of corners, outbroke Rikke coming down the Canada corner. Didn't leave him much room, but they touched there a little bit, and then Rikke, went long in Canada corner. Cristian undercut him and passed him, but then Cristian again, right? You fast in, slow out. Cristian in the last corner before the straightaway, had the lead and had just gotten the lead, and then Cristian just went way too deep. The car was basically on three wheels, missed the apex, almost went off, and then exited super slow. And Rikke also charged the corner, but didn't miss the apex as bad and had a better exit, and then just drove by him up the straightaway. So that right there is a perfect example of overdoing it and braking, missing your apex corner, and then exiting really slow. That's just the way it is. That's kind of like the 101 on racing. Like, if you want to be fast, you just can't miss your apex. You can't go faster than you can.
Yeah.
So and like Bruce said, like, the corner dictates basically your straightaways at the end of the day.
Yep. So what exactly, I know there was a brief issue with Clay's car in race one. What exactly happened? Because I know we had cautions galore that entire race. So
yeah, I mean, the TC car, for whatever reason, loses power, loses boost throughout the 40 minutes. So if you recycle the ignition during the 40 minutes, the boost comes back to normal. And so Clay, during the yellow flag or red, I don't know, it was yellow, decided to recycle turn the ignition on and off, whatever the guys do to try to get the system back up 100%. And he got it to a point where the car didn't restart. So he came to a stop, and all the TCA cars passed him, which they should have, right? Nobody needs to come to a stop, just a car that has an issue. So he basically came to a stop, restarted the car, and got going again. But by that time, we were under yellow, and he was behind all the TCA cars. So, Clay asked, like, can I can I get back to the tail end of my class, or what do I do? So we, in a hurry, I mean, you have to, whatever you do, you have to do it before a certain corner, before the restart, and they were getting ready to restart. Mm-hmm. So, we looked at the rule book in a hurry, and the rule book says on a start, if on your formation laps you fall behind, you can join the tail end of your class. So we told Clay to join the tail end of his class. Well, that meant that he passed all the TCA cars to join the tail end of the TC class. Well, this wasn't a start. This was a restart. So the track was, because it's a restart, we were under yellow. And under yellow, you can't pass any cars. So So he passed, all the TCA cars, which is a penalty. So he, when the race restarted, he received a drive-through penalty for passing under yellow. So a team mistake. In a hurry, we didn't have an answer. We did open the rule book and read it, but we read the wrong part of it. We read a start and not a restart under yellow or under yellow condition. Anyway, the rule book's quite extensive, right? So to find the right scenario, we just needed more time, and we didn't have it. He only had like a couple of corners to be able to get back in position. At the end of the day, we should know better that you just don't pass under yellow, period. Right? So it doesn't matter what the situation is. He should have started wherever he was at, whether it was at the tail end of the TCA. I don't know if there was more TCA cars behind them or not. Regardless.
I was the last one. I saw him get started and backed off and let him pull in front of me. And then the radio chatter we were all listening to, we're trying to figure out where to position Clay. So in the end, that was the call. But he took the penalty, and that's the way it happened.
Yeah, it happens.
So unfortunate, right? I mean, it's that's the part of racing, right? It's competition. The guy that gets through a race with the least amount of mistakes is the one that's going to win. And in that case, not his mistake, but we just couldn't get the answer fast enough. And the mistake was, look, just go back to the tail end of your class. But the mistake was we passed under yellow, so next time, if we don't have an answer, we don't know, you just stay wherever you're at, right? And just start there. So lesson learned, that it's fairly easy to be in that situation when you're recycling a limp mode or a car. Cristian did that too. He had to recycle in race 2, and he also said that his car didn't start or whatever. And but at the end of the day, he managed to finish third anyway. But there was enough gap between second and fourth, I guess. So he still finished third or recovered to third. I can't remember now, but Cristian didn't have Cristian had good drives and good laps, and as long as his car was running, he was competitive. Obviously, Cristian, he did it last year. He went from third to first on the last lap. I think if you put Cristian in a situation on a last lap where he's close to his competitor, you probably put your money on Cristian, right? So he'll find a pass,
So in race 2, PJ was actually in the lead in race 2, until an issue occurred with it looked like an issue with his brakes.
Yeah, I think we haven't looked at it yet. That PJ's car we're gonna work on it starting Monday, but we believe he had a caliper seal fail or something. We're not sure. That's what we think had a problem on the left front caliper. Not sure why. We're gonna put new calipers on it anyway, and we have several dozens of left and right calipers that we're servicing now. I just bought all new seals, and so we'll put new calipers on his and service all the calipers we have. So Nevin's been at the shop taking apart a ton of calipers and pistons, and I believe the seals arrive tomorrow or Monday. So that's unfortunate for PJ because he's been driving really well. Last year was his first podium, I think, with us, maybe last year, second place. And obviously, he won at VIR the last race. And he's been just, ever since won VIR. He's just been in the fight for wins. I think he finished third in race 1, right? But they were going back and forth there, and PJ is really methodical, right? Like he's not gonna put himself. His goal is to finish races now and get on the podium. So he achieved that in race 1. He got on the podium, was racing for the lead, has no problem. Like, so he can race any of those guys today and the rest of the season, and most likely he'll just always be a podium contender.
Yeah, that's what he told me. He said that Sebring he's going for podiums.
Yeah, I mean, PJ's he's in a really good place, right? So I think he's figured it out with the car. We really haven't changed much. I think we found maybe a few setup changes where he ended up winning at VIR, and really, we're talking minor stuff. Like, there's no really amazing, crazy setup. The car in general is in the sweet spot, has always been. We run the same springs. We haven't changed springs for, I don't know, 5 years or whatever. So it's all a little bit of toe here, some damper adjustment there. And we find it where it suits each one of our drivers. And I think at VIR, finally, we got just the right sweet spot for PJ. That also gives you a lot of confidence. And when you drive with confidence, you drive well. So he's been driving really well. The car is right where it needs to be for him. And again, the minis have proper race dampers. They're KWs. They were designed and built and developed specifically for our minis. So we have really good adjustability, regardless of the BOP, where it equals out the cars. The BOP doesn't control dampers, and one of the things that the Mini has between the diff and the dampers, we probably have more adjustability than most of the race cars in either of the two classes, right? I know that the Ricka's Hyundai has KWs also, and I bet they're probably the same ones that we have on the Minis. The Minis have the same dampers that come on the Porsche GT4 or Cayman and the Mercedes AMG GT4 cars. So high-end quality, proper race dampers, and that's very helpful, for us to be able to have a little bit of an edge above everybody, regardless of BOP, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to save up some money, buy some V3 KWs, and put them on my car.
Yeah, I mean, it's a proper damper. At the end of the day, it's, if you're going to go racing, the quality or the dampers will make a huge difference in your race car.
Yeah, I think on my street car, it might be just a bit overkill.
Probably, it all depends on what you do. If you track the car, maybe it's fun to have some really high quality dampers, right? Because probably that's your only adjustability besides a little bit of camber. On the street cars, camber is not adjustable, so unless you put camber plates and stuff like that. But if you have a set of nice dampers that have two-way adjustables, that's kind of fun for you stick on some sticky track tires and have some damper adjustments, and man, you can probably make quite a bit of improvement in your lap times every time you go out.
Yep. So point standing wise, MINI JCW Team is in the lead currently for TC, and Clay is currently in first for TC Drivers Championship.
Yeah.
So,
we'll see what we can do. It's we all know that Clay could win the Drivers Championship. He has to finish second to Rick for the next 4 races, right? The two races at Sebring, the 2 races at Indy. Not impossible, but it's difficult. So many things can happen when it comes to speed. I mean, obviously, he could probably easily finish second behind Ricka in the next 4 races. So the biggest thing is just make sure we don't have any reliability issues, not get tangled up with somebody, and then it should be okay. It's tough to predict, right? Like, we know what the job is. That's our focus here. Obviously, we want to win races. That's what we go racing for. But we know what where we're at and what we can achieve. And at the moment, it's second place. So we need to make sure that Clay is the one that finishes second every time. Yeah, I mean, if Clay has anything for Rika, or, unfortunately, at this point, we're just going to, not the way we want to race, but we just hope he has drivability problems, right? Like, that's our only hope. And that's not how I want to win races. I really like to have a hard fought bump, mirror to mirror, fender to fender race all the way, for 40 minutes. That's, if you lose that race, you got to feel really good about it, regardless if you finish first or second. If you have a hard fought, equal, race, like, that's what you go racing for, right? So at this point, we're not there. We don't have the car to beat it, and so we just have to wish him bad luck, unfortunately. But it doesn't matter. He can go win all the races. We just need to make sure that Clay finishes second. The drivers, the manufacturers championship, that's a little different. If he wins all the races, it'd be very difficult to win the manufacturers championship. First place. I don't know how the point structure is. Like, I don't know if a manufacturer wins, how many points they get. I think there's only a couple of points separate us, and we are in the Mini's in the lead by just a couple of points. I think. I don't know. So I don't know if it's 1, 2, 3 for first, second, and third, and then if there's two cars from each manufacturer, then there's, I guess, 4, 5, and 6, right? So I believe that I don't know how it works. It's really interesting, but yeah, I mean, if Rika wins all the races, which he should, we'll probably not be able to clinch the manufacturers championship.
Yeah. Our Sebring's coming up. Obviously, Florida is hotter than heck. Are you concerned about anything related to heat with the cars?
Not with the cars. No, I mean, again, I think that's, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm assuming, the series knows that our cars don't suffer much with the heat. The Honda is already at the limit on a normal day, so Sebring, they're going to be struggling performance-wise, and nobody knows about Rika's car. It's a new car. I mean, it seems it does not have a problem. So, but the series penalizes us because we don't have a problem with it, so they'll slow us down, and they did. The BOP's out already, so they didn't slow us down, but they gave Rika more power back, and I'm assuming either because he lost to Clay, although the data shows that he's super fast,
yeah,
or they're expecting his car to lose power, so to keep it equal, or an opportunity to win, they probably just gave him more power so he can pull away until it heats up and slows down. I don't know.
Maybe they think it's going to lose power because of the heat.
Well, that's it, right? Like, that's what the series thinks, and the Hondas have that problem in the heat. So I know that the Hyundai, the transmission struggles with heat, but that's on the Veloster. We don't know much about the Elantra. I was told.
I think the Veloster N and the Elantra N use the same powertrain. I think they use the same engine transmission.
That's what I've been told, but I mean, at the end of the day, I don't really care. I don't pay attention to what's in the car. It's not. We don't race Hyundais, so it is what it is. If they have problems with them, they got to figure out how to fix them. Unfortunately, we get penalized for being reliable in the heat, and everybody gets a little helping hand. So It is what it is.
Yeah. So going to the comments here, Ethan popped in, wanted to say, Bruce, it was super cool watching your in-car footage, seeing you get more comfortable and push the car harder and harder every lap. Excellent work.
Yeah, thanks a lot. When I think about race one, that was still practice for me. Although I did move up to sixth spot, but by race two, the second half of the race, I had all the confidence in the world. Lewis always tells me, Bruce, it's there. And reviewing data with or PJ's data, etc., it really was there. So I had a sweet feeling at the end of the race that it finally came together and it was racy, and that's the way I hope I start out at Indy.
Well, you've been at Indy, so
Yeah.
now having Road America under your belt, and Road America is scary, right? You got the kink, you got high speed.
Yeah.
The guardrails are really close everywhere. Indy's a little wide open and flat and fun, and you've been there already, so you should. I expect you to have massive improvements, at the end of the season here in a month or so. I don't know how long, but we're pretty close.
Yeah, I say
sorry,
that
go ahead.
Road America, there are consequences in many of the turns. I'm a bit of I'm an engineer. I've got this methodical progression, and it took me a little while, but it kept coming, and it felt really good at the end.
Yeah, they talk about the mistakes that could happen on this track. During qualifying, this is the Sargento bridge right here. During qualifying, I was standing like right by that bridge near that wall. So if I had been standing there for race one, I probably would have caught that whole thing.
Yeah, that's an unfortunate crash there in the TCA stuff, but
and just at the start of the race, no less. That was just
I mean that happens. But normally when everybody's bunched up, and I always say, like, I mean, I never predict outcomes because you got to get through turn one or lap one first, and lap one is probably, in my mind, the most difficult one because everybody's so close and jockeying for position. So until you get to lap two, where things kind of string out and everybody's in line. The turn one, not turn one, but lap one is always, I think, the most difficult lap of the race,
Yeah, I would agree. Everybody's close together. Plus, the cars haven't warmed up. The tires haven't fully warmed up yet. So it's the most dicey period of the race, that lap one and lap two.
Yeah.
After that, I thought at least the car I'm driving, it was there, and it really never scared me.
Yeah.
So both Mini Mafia here and Rick had questions how the minis responded to the new surface, and I'm thinking, is it possible that crash was a result of the new surface on the track?
I think the crash was about situational awareness and cars kind of at the limit, and if they bump each other, bad things happen. And then once in the grass, they're along for the ride, and there are walls all around. So there was a lot of carnage across all of the series at the Road America weekend. So that's the scary thing to watch. So it happened in the GT classes, and it happened in our touring class.
Yeah, I didn't drive, but I was at Road America a couple of weeks prior for the endurance event, and it seemed like the surface is an issue for the much faster, bigger cars, right? Like it seemed to me that the big crashes because of poor grip or low grip on the surface or off track happen. I mean, if you look at the IndyCar race, they were like the first ones, and those guys said that there was no grip on the offline, and there was some ugly crashes there. the prototypes and the IMSA race, won in the race, crashed in the kink on his own on the first couple laps. And that was probably also, going offline a little bit. But I don't know about the slower cars. And I say slower, like TCR. Cristian said it wasn't a big deal. I don't know for I didn't hear anybody complain about grip in TC or TCA. But, like Bruce said, in the TCX, I think that wasn't a surface issue. That was the first lap, everybody trying to get the best position, cold tires. And where it happened for the TCX, and it was race one, it was high speed. So, you can't jerk around that fast, and they were all tight together. And, that was just an accident that some experienced, some inexperienced guys, high speed, 3 wide, it narrows up for somebody because somebody moved a little bit, and then, all hell breaks loose,
Yeah. Mini Mafia, they have done track days at Road America, and they were curious, would you have professional advice on how to drive turn number 3 at Road America? Understanding this turn is very crucial for overall lap time. Could you give any advice? And the entry speed, apex, and desired exit speed.
That would be a question, or Bruce.
I guess to be honest, 3 is kind of the simplest corner at Road America.
I'm gonna let you guys handle this. I got to let the dog out real quick.
It's the easiest one to hit the apex every lap, and really, to be honest with you, we're not looking at entry speed or exit speeds. It's just making sure you, hit the apex and hit the gas in the right place. There's not much to that corner. Like Bruce can agree with me. It's the simplest corner on the track.
I think we're all screaming down into 3 because turn 1 is fast, and we brake enough to get the car turned and then in the gas as soon as we can. And there's a lot of runoff area. You can use the runoff and the rumbles. Don't get on the grass, but use the whole track is what I would say.
Yeah, and it depends on it depends on what car you're in or what mini you're in. If you're in a car that has 230 and less horsepower, you want to be pretty much flat out, depending on what tires you have, right? You want to be pretty much almost fully back to the throttle by the apex of the corner. If you're in a GP or something that's 250 horsepower more, something like that, yeah, you're going to have to feather the throttle. But, if you're in a GP, what you do is you brake and you use 20% throttle through the whole corner until you get to the apex, and then you start feeding the power back in. That's about it. It's very similar to 5 also. I think they're the same radius, same angle. Just you have a different speed in, but you're still, for both corners, you're going super quick. Same for 6 too. That one's a little tricky because 6 you can't really see because you're going up the hill, but other than that, it's pretty simple. Just make sure you hit your marks, and it will help you you just got to get back to gas. That's all. That's the most important part about 3.
Yeah, I think 3 is when you're done braking, you better go right to gas and don't lift. That's in the TCA car, because if you lift at all coming past the apex, it's ruined about 3/4 of a mile of fast speed.
Yeah, there's also a in-car of the my TCA pole lap from last year. I know the repave happened, but it's not much different, and it shows you where to brake. And so if you want to go check that out, I guess Zach probably has the my channel linked somewhere, so that's a good video to go watch.
It's usually in the video description for the live stream that's being posted on your guys' channel. So I think your channel's linked in there, but it's also linked on my channel as well. So if the people want to look at the video description, they can find your channel on there easily.
Yep.
Let me get my breath here. What was I got here? Someone had asked Alex Lamas, will you guys ever return to Lime Rock?
I don't think we will. I don't think we want to. Unfortunately, it's a long ways out there from everybody, and it's a track that it's not very good for the minis. Also, we did go there our last couple of years in IMSA, so maybe that's not true, but it's definitely not a favorite track of everybody, and it kind of wrecks cars. There's not much runoff, right? So if you go off, you hurt your car's pretty hurt. So I think it'd be fun to go again, but I don't see SRO going back just because it's a long journey out there.
Yeah, it all depends on the promoters, really. You know, I mean, we don't choose the tracks, so I think IMSA moved out of Lime Rock also, right? Didn't they switch Lime Rock for Mid-Ohio? So yeah. So it all depends on the promoters, and at this point, I don't think Lime Rock's in any of the IMSA or SRO calendars at the moment.
And we don't even know yet what the to be announced track for next year is either, so it could be anything at this point.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be Lime Rock.
No.
Unfortunately.
What we got here? I don't know what this ICTM3. I love the shot with Cristian flipping off the guy that's squeezing him off, and you see the Frozen movie snowman plush hanging on for dear life.
Yeah, that's yeah. The hardest part about Road America this year was the TC cars our lap times were pretty much the same as the TCX cars. So we got caught up in a lot of battles, and as you can see, this whole year we've been running into TCX drivers that don't see the TC cars. Evident at NOLA, and then a couple times at CODA. VIR was fine, but yeah, it's really frustrating because if I had I had a great run, and even Jeff Rica and I talked about this. If I had got the run, I would have checked out, right? I would have been good for that last lap. So. And I talked to that driver too, and it was either I stay in it and he gets turned off my nose, or I back out and he doesn't get turned off my nose. So I picked the better option, but it is super frustrating because those guys, they don't check their mirrors. They never will. So it's nothing. Yeah, it's a little frustrating. I flipped them off. I guess tempers were high, as they always are. So.
At the end of the day, you chose to keep your car in one piece.
Yeah, and he apologized after because we talked about it, and it was just like, the series should have been a little bit, I don't know, more proactive about these type of things that happen, because the TC cars this year we're all pretty fast, and the back end of the TCX cars, or even the midfield, we were faster than all but 3 TCX cars in qualifying. That they need to be a little bit more proactive and letting the TCX guys know that the TC guys might be there, right? And that's just, it's hard to say because TCX is the biggest class and people pay a lot of money. And then if you're like, oh, look, a TC car is faster than you, it kind of looks bad. So it's hard for them just to be like, hey, move out of the way. So
yeah, we saw flash during that.
Yeah, it won't be a problem at Sebring or Indy. So that guy knows now. He apologized. So it's all good.
Yeah. Sean Woods commented, welcome, Cristian. How is that homework coming along?
Yeah, I got it done finally. So yeah, it's just been.
What class is it for?
It was math and English. So it's just been trying to find a schedule between racing and college and life and everything else. So.
Well, don't worry. You won't figure it out until you're getting ready to graduate from college. That's when you usually figure out how to balance it all out.
Yeah, right. I need to figure it out soon.
So, Mini Mafia popped back in again. Any suggestions for a better approach to the carousel at Road America?
Oh, so that's definitely the hardest corner on the track. Also, in the video, it shows pretty well my onboard how to run it. And this year, during the repave, if you go watch my race one video from that Zach just posted, there's the perfect line now. The old line was be mid-track and then go way inside, and the new line is stay inside because the whole way around, because there's a huge amount of grip. And if you can keep your car, you really like, we don't use the brakes in there. We short shift to fourth. So you drive in flat up until you're pretty much in the corner, and then you just start modulating the throttle, just seeing where your car is going to be, see where the balance is, and just making sure you're not using too much throttle so you don't understeer out too early for the exit. So Zach's video he just posted shows it pretty well, but stay very inside, like almost in the grass. Like some parts I was in the grass trying to get as much of that corner as I could.
Yeah, and on the onboard videos, I tried something different this time. I posted just a snippet of the onboard, and then if you go into the description, you can go watch the unlisted video, which is the full race from the onboard of the car. I don't know how that format's going to work out. If I find they're not getting viewed a lot, I'll probably just make them live videos as well, and then everyone can just go watch them normally. But I thought the snippet idea would be better than watching 45 minutes on onboard footage from a race car. Unless you're really into that thing, and not a lot of viewers, at least on my channel, are into that stuff. So it happens. Rick says, "Hey Cristian, we recently watched you drive in a different series, and it was excited to hear your name. What was that like? Because I know you raced in IMSA recently."
Yeah, that was a really cool experience. That was to race in IMSA has been number one on my bucket list of everything. So it was really cool to be able to check it off the number one bucket list. It was an amazing experience. I was given an amazing opportunity. I was given by Victor Gonzalez Racing. They had switched cars to the Elantra, and I got the call that Monday. I needed to be at the track Friday. So I got all my stuff ready, and I headed over there, and I was kind of really thrown into it because in IMSA, we were only doing 2 days. So it was practice 1, practice 2, and qualifying all in one day. Then the next day was the race. So it was a lot of just making sure I learned as much as I could and trying to not hurt the car. And at the very end in qualifying, we were I think we were second off of pole. So I qualified 8th, but I'm really happy with it. I was tied with pole all the way until the kink. So that kind of, if more experience, but all those guys have 5 to 6 years of experience, not 1 day of experience like I did. The race was.
And to add to, Cristian went against, normally the finishing drivers are the pro drivers, and lately the pro drivers have been qualifying the cars in TCR. So Cristian went against the top drivers of each car, and he was the 4th fastest of the factory Elantra. So that was kind of cool. You know, he was right there with those guys.
Yeah, that was and then the race was okay. Like the repave is not the best, really. It got hot and it got greasy, and the car was new to all of us, and we could have made a little bit different changes to have a better outcome, but that team has learned now, and it was I'm not complaining. But yeah, it was awesome. I got to go race. It was kind of cool. I remember during the first caution, I was thinking, is this even real? Like, I'm out here in an IMSA race, which is really weird. And yeah, it was awesome.
That's cool. Now, I remember asking you if you had gotten any insight into what it's like driving the Elantra, so you get an advantage over Ricka, and then you told me it's like they're completely different cars.
Yeah, that thing's the real deal. The Elantra TCR car.
Yeah, one's an actual race car from the factory, and one is a street car turned into a race car.
Yep.
So completely different animals. So if anyone ever wonders the TC America cars, those really are. They took them off the street, turned them into a race car for the most part, and put them out on the track. I mean, I think TCX might be a little bit more factory race car for some of them, I think. TCX class in TC America, but I believe they're probably as close to TCR as you could get in the TC America series.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're
probably.
pretty close. Yep.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah,
But Zach, as you say that, though, if you watch what Lewis does in building these, he takes a street car and strips it down completely and builds it up again.
mm-hmm.
So the viewers should not get the idea that it's a few bolt-on pieces,
No.
TC or TCA. The shop is incredible. And the guys can take those things apart to nothing, put the roll bars in, and bolt everything back up, and it's a very tight race car.
And I remember opening the doors on the TCA cars, the old IMSA cars, and those roll cages. Those things were built to take a beating. Those are just that's some impressive welding.
Yeah, I mean the old IMSA cars had the NASCAR bars out, so that was the old IMSA cars were based off of NASCAR roll cages. So everything's. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just say, so why is the IMSA roll cage different from the TC from the TC roll cage?
Yeah, so I mean that's kind of evolved now to ever since race cars have been homologated by manufacturers. Most of roll cages now follow FIA rules. So the SRO is based off of FIA rules. IMSA had their own rules, mainly because IMSA is owned by NASCAR, and in the early days that their rules were very similar to the NASCAR cars in a street car, but as the classes have evolved in the last 5-6 years, IMSA no longer has non-homologated cars. All their classes are homologated now, so everything is FIA roll cage spec or specs. So that's the difference between our old TCA cars and our new cars. I mean, if we build a new TCA car, it will have an FIA roll cage, not as our existing TCA cars, which are grandfathered in from our IMSA days, which has the NASCAR style roll cage.
Yeah. Are there any plans to build any more TCA class cars?
No, I think we're done building new minis at the moment. I think, we have 6 total, 4 TCA cars, 2 TC cars. At the moment, Bruce is with us, so when Bruce is with us, we'll have 4 on track, 2 and 2. But we have 2 more sitting in the shop, not being used, and so there's no need to build more cars. At some point, logistically, we just can't carry that many cars to the racetrack. So, more race cars. Now, we would build a car for a customer if they want to go TCA racing. Yes, we would build one, and we can build one fairly fast. But at the moment, we've never had a customer wanting to buy a Mini. Honestly, not sure. I think I'm not sure if people realize, or competitors realize that they can buy a Mini to race. Instead they go buy Hondas, and at one point they were buying Hyundais until Hyundai gave up on building new cars or race cars. I don't know what the deal is, but the only car you can really buy. Not the only car you can buy. The only car that people buy right now is the Civic, But if somebody wants to race TC or TCA in a Mini, we can definitely build them the best race car on the grid. for sure.
It's kind of interesting because I have talked to people in the past who I've had people even on subscribing to my channel who've commented that they were like, we didn't know that there was a Mini Cooper racing team in the U.S. I'm thinking how could you not know that? But at the same time, it's like, well, if people knew that, they would probably be knocking your door down to buy a TC car or TCA car to go out and race in it.
Yeah, I mean, most fans, car fans, not necessarily are sports cars fans, right? Like, I mean, we all love our cars, and people love their cars, whether it's a Mini or another brand, but not necessarily follow IMSA or SRO and realize that there's professional racing on it. Most of the people that think of racing, they think of SCCA or, I think that happens for most series. You have the Spec Miata class, which Bruce has been racing for years. And, I'm sure there's hundreds of Mazda car owners that never knew that Mazda has such a big class in the Spec Miata and MX-5 Cup class, and that's just because car owners not necessarily are sports cars fans, if that makes sense, right? Like, we all love our cars and we wax them and we love them and we drive them and, but we don't necessarily sit down. I do, but most people don't necessarily sit down on a Sunday to watch the IMSA SRO or, now I'm sure you can watch any of the club racing, SCCA, NASA. I'm sure they live stream it somehow, and people just don't do that, right? Like, I think most car owners that are into maybe racing, they track it more. They go to day events and maybe those car owners are more into maybe watching or know that there is, professional road racing, sports car racing, touring car racing, around.
So I know there's a big following of with touring car in Europe, and I know that if you go over to Europe, they build mini challenge race cars in Munich. So there must be fans out there who know that the race car minis exist. If in Europe they build them, so
yeah, I mean, so that's interesting, right? Because the Mini Challenge is a standalone series. It's very, very similar to Spec Miata or MX-5 Cup, or now you have the GR Cup, the Toyota, what is it, the 86 class, and
the Toyota 6 GR Corollas.
But the Mini Challenge isn't. It's a standalone series, so they don't compete. It's not a multi-manufacturer championship at the level of pro racing like it is, a touring car or IMSA or SRO, right? So if you're really looking at, we're probably the only professional mini race team in the world. Like, I'm not sure who. I don't know if there's any. Go ahead.
There is one other. There is one other in the world. It's Bulldog Racing.
But
they don't really count.
They don't race. That's they do the 24 hours of Nürburgring. So that's not a professional race series. It's an endurance. It's a one-off series, right? So it's not a multi-manufacturer championship either. So I don't know of any other mini racing globally anywhere in professional multi-manufacturer championships.
Well, then you're it. LAP Motorsports is it.
Yeah, there are one-off mini race programs that compete in. I know there's some hill climbing mini teams and stuff like that, but again, that's not multi-manufacturer professional pro. I mean, I don't want to call it pro racing because racing, you're racing, but at a multi-manufacturer racing series, right? So
Yeah.
That's in the U.S. It's IMSA and SRO. I don't know what it is in Europe, but I don't know if there's any minis. SRO did start the TC class, and I believe they have several old cars of different manufacturers, a lot of retired Renault Clios or Cup Clios. I believe there's a couple or maybe one or two mini challenge minis that are in there, so I guess that would be a multi-manufacturer, which is based off of SRO Europe. But it's all it's still racing against older retired touring cars. So
I need to bring up old retired touring cars. Someone just commented. Anyone have any memories of watching TV of super touring at Donington Park in the 90s? Side mirrors bouncing on the track everywhere. That's what this racing you guys are doing now.
That's the best touring car racing ever. The old, British Touring Car Championship. I mean, back then in the 90s, that's where touring car really was huge. Some of those teams were actually F1 teams running the British Touring Car. I think the Renault British Touring Car was either built or run by the Formula One team. I know that a lot of the Formula One teams develop race parts in that series. So yeah, I mean, the Super Touring Car days of the British Touring Car Championship was amazing, right? Tarquini, Thompson, and the Civic and the Honda Accord, the Renault. I mean, I'm going to start naming. Yeah, I watched all that stuff. I mean, that was the best days. And you know what's interesting, and most people don't know, but some of the best touring car racing still today with the largest grids is in Argentina. Argentina has probably at the moment the best touring car racing there is in modern time, and they have every manufacturer in it, except for many, and it's just amazing.
So for anyone wondering, the dog in the picture, that's Gus, or with Bruce right there.
Yes.
Hey, Gus.
He misses you guys. He misses the LAP team.
Gus has become the unofficial or I guess you would call him the official mascot of LAP.
He heard everyone's voice and had to join.
Yeah, that's awesome. He loves the water. I love it.
That's an awesome dog. It was fun having him out there at the races. Yeah. So what was I going to pop in here? I did have something that we were going to share. We're working on fixing the background on it, but I did commission an artist. We were trying to come up with a wacky kind of sticker of the 37 car that Lewis had found, or had found a sticker that VGRT has done of one of the race cars. So this is what this artist came up with for the car. For the number 37 car. Looks really cool. We're going to probably change the background. I think we were talking about trophies or something off in the distance there.
Yeah, I suggested maybe trophies, or something, maybe some shades of flags and trophies, something racy behind it, that would be kind of cool.
I thought about that. The other thing that popped in my head was maybe the Indianapolis skyline. Oh, hold on, we didn't go with that. Let's go back.
Maybe the pagoda and the racing flags in back. Yeah.
Ooh, that would be a good one.
Yeah.
The Indy Speedway with the pagoda and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might need permission from IMS for that though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just thought about that.
I think some just trophies and stuff like that. I'm not big into checker flags myself, but I mean, there's already a checker flag on the roof of the 37. So,
yeah.
But I think some shades of, shapes of a bunch of different trophies, maybe some confetti kind of thing in the background. That kind of be cool.
I think we could come up with something. What I was going to say here. Oh, a friend of mine pointed out to me after I had this drawing done. He said that it looks fantastic, except the front brake caliper is in the wrong location.
Oh, I haven't zoomed into it to really actually notice
Well, I
it.
zoomed in and looked at it. I'm like, yeah, it's in the location so you can actually see it. But at the same time, thinking to myself, it's a cartoon. It's a cartoon of the car. So
Yeah.
it does.
Oh.
You kind of forgive the fact that the caliper's in the wrong location.
Although it looks really good. The whole thing is pretty cool. You know, it looks great with the rear wing on it. You know.
Yeah, this artist was fantastic. He even got the mini card graphics on the bonnet.
Yeah, no. I mean, you know, I think I looked at the rocker on the bottom. I did zoom into it, and I can see a couple of our sponsors on there. So that's kind of cool. You know, that's why I was kind of asking you earlier today. Maybe we can make some posters and stuff out of it.
Yeah, well, the image he sent me, it's a 10,000 pixel by 6,000 pixel image, so it's big enough that we can do some serious posters.
Well, that's good. I don't know much about that, but if you say so, then that's good.
I used to print pictures for an art gal. I did not professional photography, but I had there was a friend of mine who ran an art gallery in Kansas City, and he let me display my artwork photography. So I knew how to get the pictures large enough that I could print them where they'd look really good. So that's what I just kept doing that. And so when I see something that's like over 3,000 pixels, I'm like, yes, that's perfect. It's gonna look crisp and everything on the poster. It's gonna look really good.
Sounds
good. We just got to find somebody who has a large enough large format printer who can print out a bunch of posters for us. Maybe we need to send that image over to MINI USA and have them print them or something.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Someone commented with the picture, said the only problem is if you turn left, the fender rips off.
Yeah. It doesn't look like it's got a lot of suspension travel either, but you know, it's a pretty mean picture. So I love it. You know?
Rick popped in. He said, Jennifer wants to know the name of your dogs.
My dogs are, this is Jake, which is just resting here. And my other dog, which I'm not sure where she went, is Sparkles.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got Gus right over there.
And I've got
Gus. And I would show you guys Bailey, but she's laying on the floor. Hi, Bailey. Hey. She's laying on the floor next to me. She's 11 and a half years old, golden retriever. So she's a good girl, though. She's been with the family. She's been in our family since she was a puppy.
Nice.
So,
yeah, Jake. This is Jake, but not from State Farm.
That'd be funny if you actually made him like a State Farm shirt or something, or bandana.
I know. Or something. He does have a red collar, like the Jake from State Farm.
Yeah. Mini Mafia popped in. I'm gonna remove this. Mini Mafia popped in. Bruce at Road America right now, we are running 240.05. We know that there is more room to improve right now. We are in auto mode. The question is how much the GP3 could improve in manual mode. So I think he's saying they're driving in an automatic, but what are your all's thoughts on if they switched it over to shifting in manual mode? And Lewis, I think you might be better suited for this because you have a JCW Clubman with the same transmission that the GP3 has.
Yeah. So honestly, I haven't driven the Clubman on track, but man, I'm not sure. I mean, yes, the paddle shifter, you have better control of it, I guess.
This might be a question for Cristian if he hadn't chimed out.
Yeah. But I don't see. I kind of see the automatic working really good. You know, doing all the work. So I don't think there's going to be a lot of time difference. And if you're not getting the gears right, you know, or downshift or whatever, you might even be a little slower. So it might take a few laps to figure it out. But I think it's pretty close.
Yeah, and if it were, I would also say if you wanted to improve it, put the shifter in sport automatic, except for the fact that, or with sport mode. But I remember that the GP3 doesn't come with the driving mode, so you can't toggle it into sport mode to get a little bit more, what's the term? Lengthen the shifts, length between shifts or something.
Yeah, honestly, I I don't know. You know, I think the gearbox and the Clubman or the GP3 is really good in either automatic mode, sports mode, or with the paddle shifter. But it's tough to beat. It's tough to beat the auto mode because it just knows to be in the right gear at the right time, you know, and you don't have to worry about finding the gear at the right time. Does that make sense? I just, you know, I mean, the crazy thing is too, like automatic transmissions today, whether it's a dual clutch automatic or an automatic, the Mini is an automatic. You know, I know a lot of people think it's a dual clutch, but it's not. I think the Cooper S comes with a dual clutch. But
The Cooper and the Cooper S come with a 7-speed DCT. It's made by the same company that makes the 6-speed manual.
Yeah, but the GP3 and the Clubman is an automatic.
No, they use an 8-speed Aisin.
Yeah, and it does a really good job. You know, it's super good. Mm-hmm. Obviously, technology and Mini BMW does a great job in the mapping of the transmission and the engine. So, yeah, I haven't tried it, but I'm gonna guess it's really tough to beat the automatic. Mm-hmm. Just leave it in auto mode and focus on the driving and the apex and the braking. You know, I could be wrong. I mean, I haven't driven it, and it's fun to pull the paddle and have it shift when you shift, because it does shift really good when you do it on manual mode. But if you're trying to do lap times around the racetrack, I'm not sure you can beat the auto mode.
No. Mini Mafia asked this question. What was it? It was related to nitrogen in the tires. Do we use nitrogen for TC America?
We do. We do in all race tires. We do.
Okay. He wanted to know what was it? We just experienced for the first time using nitrogen in our tires, and the pressure and temperature seems to be holding longer and getting more predictable at Road America. Any experience with nitrogen? Well, obviously, if you're using nitrogen, you have some experience on that, so you can probably add to that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the theory is that nitrogen doesn't grow, you know, but it does. It still does. It's just more predictable, like he says. We know how much it's going to grow. And we obviously have enough data, and I don't keep track of tires and tire pressure. That's all Rob, and we have a tire guy, which is Roy, and so they have a system. And but Rob knows. He goes, like, start here. You know, he knows depending on the temperature of the day, or you know how much it's going to grow, so he can predict. You know, obviously for qualifying we only run 15 minutes, so we will start with higher tire pressures. Everybody does, right? So you start with a little higher tire pressures because you're only going to run, you know, like a Road America, you only run, 5 laps maybe in 15 minutes, you know, or at least, flyers. You lose a lap with a lap in and a lap out. So yeah, you know, you might get 4 or 5 good laps out of it. In a race, you know, you're going to go a long distance, and depending on the weather, temperature, you know, but like he says, it does grow, but it's just predictable. It'll always be very similar. Now you have to be careful, right? Because where you getting the nitrogen, we order nitrogen bottles, and you know, it's important that the nitrogen doesn't have moisture. That's the difference, right? Nitrogen doesn't have moisture, but if it's not 100% filtered or well, you might have some. And the moisture is what makes the tire pressure grows, right? Maybe Bruce can add to that, you know, as an engineer. He can probably explain it a little better.
Yeah, but that's basically it. Regular air has a greater moisture content and is more susceptible to expansion during heat, and nitrogen expands less and therefore more predictable tire pressures.
So there you go. There's your answer on nitrogen.
Yep. And I'll have to pull out my engineering books for the ideal gas equations, but it is there. It's figured out, and the tables you can find work just fine.
So Mini Mafia just asked how important is the exit at turn 14, but that seems like something that would have been best answered by Cristian if he were still on the chat with us.
Yeah,
but Bruce, you went through 214.
I got somebody on the last too. It's very important. Is brake hard, get the turn done early, get in the gas before the other guy, and there's plenty of runoff. And if you're chasing somebody, it allows you to get on their tail, and then you can pick up a little draft also. So a fast exit out of 14 is imperative.
Yeah, and we talked about this earlier. Maybe he wasn't on there at that time, but I mean, it's not just 14. Any exit is important, right? So the longer the straightaway, the higher top speed you'll have if you're exiting the corner 2 or 3 miles per hour faster than your competition, then you're going to be 2 or 3 miles per hour faster at the end, and that goes whether it's a long or a short corner. But it's just you just have to maximize your corner speed, and that sometimes is either a slower entrance, accelerate through the apex and have a really good exit, or not. It's just that simple.
And it's not easy to do lap after lap to do it exactly right. As we were talking earlier, you've got somebody on your tail. It's easy to overshoot a little bit, but getting the turns right in a relatively low powered car is really important.
Yes.
Yep. So so Sebring's the next race toward the end of September, or what are you all hoping to, or Lewis, what are you hoping to achieve with that race? Obviously.
Yeah, I mean, we know what the job is, PJ, I expect them to be up in the top 3. Clay just needs to finish second, and that's what we're going to focus on. We're trying to solve some of the issues on the TC car, so hopefully Cristian can have a clean race, and so for Clay, right? So Clay in race 2 didn't have any issues with the loss of power, so, and he drove a perfect race, and the results show. So we got a couple of things we're trying to fix here, and hopefully solves our issues with the TC cars, and then both Clay and Cristian can have a clean race and have something to race. Sebring's is my favorite racetrack. Track itself. I always say if you win Sebring, your guys have overcome the heat. The cars have withstood the punishment of Sebring concrete, and Sebring has tight corners, fast corners, and a couple of long straightaways and short straightaways. So, and 3 different surfaces around the track. So, it's probably the toughest racetrack for a race car driver, and I like that. I think when you win at a racetrack like that, you've overcome all the obstacles.
Sounds great. Well, we've been on here now for a little over an hour.
Yeah, good thing we were going to keep it short, but it's.
Well, my hope was, because Clay was at a family function, my hope was that during this time he'd be able to pop in if he was able to, but obviously he wasn't able to make it in. But I know if he were on, he would want to thank Catalyzer for sponsoring him at Road America as well for this race. So that's 2 race weekends in a row that Catalyzer had sponsored his car. So that was pretty cool. It was really impressive to see that.
3 wins with the Catalyzer, on the side of the car. So that was
3 out of 4.
good
3 out of
luck.
4 is not a bad. Not 3 or 4 is not bad.
Right. Absolutely. That's pretty good. And it sat in the showroom at Dreyer for 2 or 3 weeks. I can't remember how long, but for a long time.
I sent a message to the manager over there. I said, hey, just so if anyone asks what Catalyzer is, here's the link to the website. Here's what they do. sent him all the information so he'd have it in case anyone asked him who they were.
Nice.
So it was cool to see that. My dad got a kick out of seeing pictures of his company's logo on the side of Clay's car sitting in the showroom of a Mini dealership. So that was pretty impressive stuff.
Yeah. And we had an event there when we dropped it off. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, the car was popular, and it is popular, you know, especially at the dealership. Everybody loved it.
Mm-hmm. It's a cool car. It's obviously the GP3 colors. So it has that going for it. Everyone loves the GP3. So it looks like a GP3 sitting in there. So there you go.
Yeah, it was cool.
So pretty cool stuff. But yeah, obviously we have sponsors that we could thank. The Mini Card, obviously, for sponsoring Christian's car at the races. We want to thank Catalyzer again for sponsoring Clay's car at Road America. I want to thank Mini USA for their continued sponsoring and support of the racing team. That's always fantastic. Halston Pittman for for his great photography that he puts out. My cat, who's decided to sit in my lap here.
Jake, Gus,
yeah,
and
so
Bruce has some sponsorships too.
If anyone wants to check out the Mini JCW Team's YouTube channel, here it is, Mini JCW Team Films. We're always trying to put stuff on there, typically short videos, sometimes humorous, sometimes just get to the point, show you all the racing that's going on, or just the cars in general. I got to thank Out Motoring for continuing to sponsor my channel. So we are live streaming on both channels, the Mini JCW Team and the Miniac. So I want to make sure we thank them as well. SMPS 2012 is a new sponsor of the channel as well. And who else do we got in here? Well, if you want to go visit the Mini JCW Team's website, here's the link right here. And go check out things over there. They have some information. I think they're still updating a few things here and there. But always a good place to go if you want to get more info. And if you're interested in buying a TCA Mini Cooper, you want them to build you one, you can go there and probably contact Lewis, and he'll build one for you.
TC or a TCA, either way.
TCA, yeah. If you want those gigantic wide flares on a race car, you definitely got to get the TC car and the big wing on the back.
Yeah, and Bruce has a sponsor, right?
Yeah, Bruce is a sponsor.
STS Solutions Through Synergy is my sponsor. So consulting company that helps organizations improve.
Nice.
Well, there you go, Bruce. Send me the link when you get a chance, and I'll make sure it gets into the video descriptions for the live streams. So
and Bruce will be back with the team for the season finale at IMS Indy.
Yeah.
So that'll be a lot of fun.
I'm looking forward to that race. That's a fun track.
And we will expect to see, Bruce maybe, somewhere around PJ that weekend too. So that'll be really good. I'm excited. I think I'm really excited about Indy because Bruce is back, and I can't wait. I can't wait to see him, going door to door with the top guys.
I think we want you both to podium, you and PJ.
Yep, much appreciated. And I'm picking up another sponsor. My alma mater, Washington University, Kelvey School of Engineering, is going to be there at Indy displaying their Formula SAE car, and we'll be hosting some alums and Formula SAE engineers around the paddock and garage area. So glad to show off the car and try to turn on some students and prospective students into engineering and technical fields, and also show how that relates to racing.
Yeah. Awesome. And that's awesome. And you just reminded me too that, we want to thank the mini technicians that are part of our race team every weekend. We had Miguel at Road America. He's been there for 3 or 4 times with us. Great guy, and we have a number of technicians coming to Sebring and in Indy, and then obviously too we have Charles and Brian from IUPUI Motorsports, Engineering Motorsports. at IUPUI. So they're at the shop all the time, and they help on the race weekends, and they'll be at Indy too. So, you know,
Awesome.
we have great people, a lot of passion. You know, it's really good.
It's gonna be fun. So 2 more race weekends to go, 4 more races total. Let's get out there and get on those podiums. So thanks everybody for watching. I'm going to ask you guys to stick around just for a few minutes after we sign off. But thanks for watching. Let's go racing, and you all have a fantastic morning, afternoon, and evening. And we will see you all next time.